Welcome to the Align Business Podcast. I'm your host, Kelsey Kerslake, CEO of personal branding agency, Pinegate Road, and business coach to online service providers, coaches, and educators. I know that you believe that living a great life is so much more than the business that you lead or the money that you make. Each week, we'll dive into what it actually takes to live an aligned life with a business that supports it. Let's do this. This show is brought to you by the Align Business Academy. Are you so ready to go all in with your online business and hit six figures this year in a way that feels fulfilling and true to you? Apply now for the Align Business Academy. This is our signature program that helps you scale your online business with one-on-one and community support, a framework for learning all things online business, and a proprietary 3-part system for scaling while working way less than you are now. Say hello to more freedom, income, and impact. Apply now at pinegateroad.com/academy. That's pinegateroad.com/academy. Hello, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I am so excited to have you here today, as always. And today we have a really exciting guest. Her name is Michelle Vroom. She is an expert in marketing and building audiences. And what is really interesting is that I came across her on Facebook in general, and I knew her name, and I believe that we were Facebook friends. And I had no idea how I actually knew her or what she did or anything like that, which is just really interesting. Do you ever have those people where they're in your atmosphere, but you're like, I don't know who this person is or what they do, but like they're in my general sphere, and I know that we're going to have something that we're going to connect on. Well, Michelle was one of these people for me. And so when I got an email from her assistant, I believe, saying she would love to come on your show to talk about this and that, I was like, yes, Michelle, like, I know her. So I am so excited to have finally met Michelle in, I guess, Zoom life. Is that pretty much real life now? And to have this conversation. And Michelle has so much experience with building authentic connections, building community, and really utilizing an audience and doing it in a real, true, and unique way that can lead to really big business things down the road. And even when you're starting off and you have an audience of 0 or 1 or 5, you can still cultivate that audience, give them a really great experience. And Michelle is going to dive into all of that good stuff on the show today. She is sharing some amazing tips and tricks and just thoughts around how to actually grow your business in a way that feels really, really good for you, and in a way that builds an audience that actually converts that audience into paid clients and customers down the road, which is what we all naturally want as we're growing our businesses. So she has an amazing perspective, and I'm so excited to dive into this today on the show. So let's get started. Hello, Michelle.
Hello,
Welcome to the
Kelsey.
show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for coming on today. And I saw your email come through and I was like, yes, we are doing this. I'm so excited to have you. So I would love for you to introduce yourself. What do you do? Who do you work with? All of the general things of who you are.
You got it. So I'm Michelle Vroom, and I'm a business coach who helps women grow to 6 figures with freedom and peace, because I believe that you need both of those things getting to 6
Oh, yeah.
I do that primarily by supporting women in growing an audience that actually converts to clients. I think a lot of people feel like their dream clients are unicorns, or it's, impossible to land clients consistently, especially clients that you really enjoy working with. And so growing an audience is something that I'm really passionate about. It's something that I support my clients with, because I truly believe that every single woman in business should be able to make money whenever she wants.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I think that there is some mindset stuff that comes around you being able to turn yourself into an ATM, is what I call it. And you can just say, I need to make money today, and I'm going to go figure out something to do to make that happen if and when you need it. And you actually believing that that is possible and like you
Mhm.
doing it is like
Mhm.
two totally different things.
A
So,
1000%. 1000%. Most people do not believe that that's possible. And I've gone through phases in my business where I have not believed that's possible. And P.S., I've actually gone through phases in my business after hitting six figures where I didn't believe that was possible. So this isn't just like a newbie thing, right? This is
mm-mm,
something that I think comes up actually after you've had a bit of success in your business. It's what I call the
absolutely.
dark side of success, where you're like, second guessing everything. You're like, wait a second, is that possible? Can I really do that again? No, that was a fluke, right? We go through all of these like narratives in our head.
I still feel this way sometimes. We're going to hit our 7-figure year this year. It's
Amazing.
on the way, like it is happening. And I still am just like, am I ever gonna get a client again? Or that, like, I have those
Isn't
mindset
it
gremlins,
funny?
right? It's
I think
so
that's important
weird.
to talk about because I think people believe that once you hit, I do think six figures is like the magical number, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that people believe once you hit that, all of that goes away and you don't ever feel that way again. No, like if anything, you're like, I've got more responsibility on my shoulders. I have
Exactly.
more, I had a client one time who hit six figures and afterward was like, I feel like I have more to lose. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that can
Oh yeah.
definitely come up, and I do think it's important to be honest about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
It's something I think about all the time. And it's just like, okay, Kelsey, like you've proven that you've gotten
Yeah.
to it. And
Yeah.
so look at the proof instead of the
Mm.
mindset gunk that's coming up. And so I have to look,
Yes.
okay, how did I handle things when this certain thing happened? And I'm gonna tell, I don't think I've ever told this story, but I think this is a good fun time
Let's
to
do
do
it.
it
Oh,
because
now I'm really intrigued.
I had been making like consistent 5-figure, like I think we were at around like a 20K per month, like all of the time for like 2 or 3 years. And I hit this month where my expenses were getting, I was not looking at my finances and I just like was not doing something. And I had like a negative month and we were negative in the bank account. And I was just like, crap, what do I do to go make money today? And so I literally decided to like relaunch my Pinterest course. I made videos on Loom and I was just like emailing my entire list and being like, we're having a Pinterest launch, blah, blah, blah. And like, I literally made like the $3,000 that I needed like in that day in order to cover the negative bank balance that I had that day. And that was just another, like, it's a kind of short, weird story, but I'm not going into all the details. But it was like, okay, like I
Yeah.
can go make money if and when I need to because I can
Mm.
just go out there and do
I think this
it.
is so important. I've actually been not to go off on a tangent here, but this is also why I'm so passionate about helping women cultivate an audience, right? For me, that's my Facebook page. It
Mm-hmm.
could be anything, any platform. Because when you have moments like that, one post could get you fully booked. Truly, if you've
Exactly.
taken the time to build that. But I've been very open and honest and transparent about my journey to seven figures and the fact that I've had to like slow down and make some investments that will get me there faster, but like in the moment it feels a little bit slower. It's such an interesting, you know exactly what I'm talking about, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting place to be. And I've actually had some of my in the last 6 months, a few low revenue months, like lowest, like low, it hadn't been low in a while, right? Like I've gone through in the last 4 years just like doubling my revenue every year, like just exponential growth. And so to have that, even though it was only a few, I'm like, what's going on? It's weird, it's strange, but you got to look at the long term and have that trust and belief in what you're building long term versus what's possible short term. Because I think people are still very much in that short term mentality, even after they get to
Mm-hmm.
six figures, because that's a big part of what got you there. So it's hard. You have to reverse some thinking. It's almost like just thinking completely differently and turning off that switch and turning on something else completely. And it's
Absolutely.
not a natural process.
No, and it's uncomfortable and you have to make decisions as if you're not who you currently are.
Yep.
And
Yep.
a big part of our like mission statement is like, who is future you and how are you choosing to be future you today? And
Mhm.
so it's always making those decisions as that person that you want to be. So I've been making decisions as 7-figure Kelsey for like 5 years. And I'm like, okay, now it's happening.
Now it's happening. And now you got to make
um,
decisions as 8-figure
yeah,
Kelsey
no,
or
now
whatever the
I'm
next, right?
making, yeah, I'm making decisions as $5 million Kelsey now.
Love
So
it. Oh, I love that.
that's, I'm always like, what would $5 million Kelsey do? And I have to like be that person and
Yeah.
make those decisions. And we're going through a lot of like team growth and
Mm,
employees and things. And so that's where a lot of those decisions are coming in. Like, how
yeah.
do I build this culture and
Yeah.
community and that
Yes.
kind of stuff?
Yes.
So
I care more about
um
impact than I do about revenue right now. And that includes the team that I'm growing. So I love that. I love that you're talking about this. And I can't wait to celebrate with
absolutely.
you when you hit 7 figures.
Yes, I know. I'm so it'll happen. I'm like almost at that point where I'm like, I've been talking about it for so long. It's like
Right.
it just needs to happen because I'm almost embarrassed by it not happening at this point. So
You know what, though? You're helping people dream. Like, we do need the people who are willing to talk about it as long as it takes, and also show that, like, it's okay if it doesn't happen overnight, right? How much are we living by the standard of, I made $1 million overnight, or I had these big quantum leaps? Like, I'm not against quantum leaps by any means. I've seen them in my own business, but people don't always share kind of what happens like before that, the time leading up to the goal that you're hitting and what it
yes.
takes to actually hit that. And so I just think it's really important.
Yeah, I've taken a slower growth approach to make sure that
Same,
I'm foundational, that
same.
I'm not
Yep.
having those like crazy issues down the line. And I'm like,
Yes.
I just want this to be nice and feel really good along the way. So I love, and you, even in your
I'm
intro, you were
doing the
like the
same thing
ease
right
and
now.
peace.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep. I'm
all the
doing the
things.
same thing
So
right now. Like, I have capped my one-on-ones. I've never done that before. I have revamped my signature off. Like, I am doing things for the long term, even though in the short term, there's always a part of you that's like, oh gosh, here I go. Right.
I
It's like
know.
white knuckling, the car driving down the highway. But to me, I have no other option. Like, it's the long-term game. And that's what makes you
Absolutely.
successful. Like, it's not about hitting a certain amount overnight, or even hitting a certain amount in a specific time frame, or having a certain amount of money in your bank account, or number of clients, right? Like, that's not really what dictates success.
Yeah. I think, yeah, we have to figure out what it is for ourselves. And I think for me, it was just, am I living every day in alignment? And do I enjoy the
Yeah.
life that I'm living along the way?
Yeah.
And then I just have this like unnatural need to like help people make their dreams come true. Like it sounds Disney princess cheesy, but I just like have this craving for like, yes, your dreams are possible. You can make them happen.
Amazing.
And just
Yeah.
like a weirdo, but I
No,
love
people
that
need
kind
that.
of stuff.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
Yes, I find a lot of us like in the entrepreneur space are they're my people. That's why I'm here.
Yep. Yep. That's why we're here.
Okay, so Michelle, I know we went off on like a weird little tangent there. I really wanted to have you on to chat more about building an audience.
Mhm.
And so many of our clients, whether you're at that 6-figure level or seven, like going towards a 7-figure,
Mhm.
whatever, you still are like, where do I find my people? Right. I feel like it's
Mhm.
something we're
Mhm.
always adjusting. I know even as I've grown, I knew how to get branding and web design clients for my agency. And then it was like, where do I find coaching clients?
You
And
pivot. You go
even,
through natural pivots. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still something where we're learning exactly who our people are. And
Mhm.
I'd love for you to talk about all of that in general, please.
Sure. Okay. I'll just dive right in, and you interject and stop me if you want to go into something in more detail. So I think what you just said is really important. We're always learning about our people. I had a client say to me one time, when will I know like everything there is to know about my ideal client? And I was like, that's a fair question. The answer is never. You will never know everything
Mm-hmm.
there is to know, because people are always evolving. We're always evolving as business owners. And so you will go through those periods, especially I think in the 6 to 7 figure range, where you've served a certain level of people, right? Certain number of clients, different levels, different types of clients. And so you have a better idea of what it is that you want. I think there's a couple things here. I think sometimes people feel like they can't go all in on what they want. They're afraid that if they do, like they'll break what they've built so far, right? I'm using break in quotes. I know people can't see that, but I don't think you truly can break what you've built. But I do think there is this belief of, well, how can I make that shift, or how can I lean more into who I want to target? And so I think the first step is really owning who that person is. It's really hard to find higher ticket clients if you are not fully committed, and if you're trying to you know, dip a toe in one pool and dip another toe in another pool, right? Like I have a couple of clients right now who are doing that, where they've been trying to kind of they're afraid to go all in on the kind of client that they want to attract. And they're trying to be over here. And they're like, why is it so hard to find clients? Well, you do have to make a commitment. You really do. And it doesn't mean that that's going to be the client you serve till the end of time. Like that.
And I do want
Yeah.
to question right
Yeah.
there. So when people are working up to their
Mm-hmm.
first six figures, it's
Mm-hmm.
like they're just trying to get any client, right?
They're trying to get any client. Yes. Yeah.
And so what is that difference between going all in with one client when you're unsure of who that is and you literally need to make the money to come in? Like, what do you
Yeah.
say to that?
Yeah. So I would say that up until about 50K, you are in that, I don't even know what to call it. Like you're in that phase where you are just trying to bring in clients and get experience. A lot of clients are going to come from referrals, right? Like that's a very
We call it
normal
full-time and frustrated.
full-time and frustrated, right? I think
Yep.
50K is this milestone that kind of hangs out for everybody, because for a lot of people that's around maybe what they were making in that range before they started their business. And so it's like we all want a business ultimately that can replace that income. Like that's like the first threshold, I think.
Right.
And so, until you get to that point, I do think you need to be getting out there, talking to people. I think that it's going to be a little more challenging to determine who that client is, but I think you're also going to get clues if you are in fact like out there networking, taking on, referrals, etc. When you start to get to that 50K mark, that's where you really need to look at, okay, who have I served already? And where are the clues, right? Like, I have a coach who always says success leaves clues, and she's absolutely right. So looking at who you've served and saying, okay, who's gotten the best results working with me and why, right? Who have I enjoyed working with? Why? Like asking yourself that question. And most people don't take the time to analyze that. And the problem is if you don't do it then you will be the person who's made six figures and is still serving, almost feeling like an order taker, like serving so many different types of people. I find that as you work your way up to that milestone, people start to want to become like a specialist and not a generalist. And that's where, if you want to become that specialist, that person who's known for something, well, who are you trying to serve, right? And that's where you need to really look at what clues success has left for you and determining why you've appreciated serving a specific type of client. I think that's just a shift that has to happen. And I don't think it can happen early on until you've served enough people. I hate saying the phrase like pay your dues, because I think we've all been told that probably by well-meaning people when we started our business. But some of that it's less about paying your dues and just more about learning the types of people you can serve and learning more about how you operate as a business owner. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And some of the people I have seen reach the six-figure success more quickly is because they've had that experience in corporate or otherwise, and they literally know exactly who they want to serve and how, with what, high level offering. And then they can just like go out and they've like specialized in that thing, and they just get known for it really quickly and scale there. And so if you are just starting your business and experimenting and you're like, I'm going to figure it all out, it does take time, and you have to experience what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and then go from there.
Sure. You're going to have those moments. And by the way, like even when you hit that 50K mark and you're leading, you're working your way up to six figures, you are still going to have those moments where a client, you work with some clients who maybe aren't a good fit. Like it's not going to be a perfect science here, and it doesn't have to mean anything about you. You can also decide that maybe somebody doesn't fully fit the criteria of who your dream client is, and you still want to work with them because you're the business owner and you call the shots. I think that as you get past six figures, there is going to be a point where you have to sort of like narrow it down a little bit and really tighten it up, mainly because of resources, right? Like resources of your time, if you're building a team, like all of that. So I think leading up to six figures is really a fantastic learning opportunity for you to really dive into why you enjoy working with certain people. And it's likely going to also tie into what you do best and your area of expertise. I say your God-given talent, because most people aren't really going all in on that either. So if you're not going all in on that, if you're not going all in on that, I think the client thing, like those two go hand in hand.
Absolutely. So if you could just answer the question that we hear all of the time, where do I find the high level clients? What would your answer be for
My
that?
answer would be like, stop overthinking it. They're everywhere. Number
Yes.
one, number one. It's like we get like, it's so funny because that's not really how we operate offline in the real world, so to speak, right? Like we meet people all the time in the real world. Like we don't think anything of it. Online, it's like, where are they? Are they at like a hidden, is there a hidden party somewhere that I need the secret, password to get into? No, they're not at a secret party somewhere that you need a password to get into. People, like if you even think about your own behavior, right? Because sometimes I think we think our clients are behaving differently than we are, and that's not really the case. If you think about your own behavior, you're probably on multiple social channels, right? You're probably using them in different ways. You're not in like one spot online. We all have maybe our favorite, the one that we go to when we, lean over in the morning and take our phone off the nightstand. Be honest, you guys do it too. You know what I mean? Like, and so I think we have to understand that we have so much opportunity to reach these people because they are in multiple places, right? Like because they are listening to different podcasts or reading different blogs online. And I think that we tell ourselves the story that they're hard to find, and that actually becomes our reality. Because if you're telling
Mm-hmm.
yourself that they're hard to find, then you're not going to know where to look. And so this is where I think number one, we have to look at the unprecedented opportunity that we have in today's day and age to reach people. We have so much opportunity, so many different platforms. And then number two, I think we have to get curious. This is where you have to look at your business as if you were a detective. And that involves removing the emotion, like the natural emotion that you feel from your business, and looking at, okay, if I knew, where would I go? Or if I truly don't know, how could I figure that out? Sometimes it's as simple as just asking the people that you've enjoyed serving, even just tracking like how people come to you. That will tell you a lot. It's just we get caught up in the emotion, and emotion clouds our judgment.
That's so good. I A thing I hear a lot is that like quote unquote high level clients aren't just, they aren't going to respond to certain things. They're not just going to like hire a random person. Do you think somebody who is going to pay multiple five figures in a service or a coaching program that they do need, like, what do they need in order to then make that purchase? I know what I would need, but I'm like, in general, like,
Yeah,
what are you
yeah, yeah,
seeing?
for sure. So I think that many of those people can be lurking more behind the scenes. Like I have seen a lot of higher ticket clients not reach out until they're ready, like they've done their
Mm-hmm.
research. And this is where you can't just go based off of engagement. Like a lot of
Yeah.
my clients will be like, well, no one's engaging with my content, so I'm just going to stop. And I'm like, is it possible that there are people watching behind the scenes? Like I've had several high ticket clients go in my group, binge all my content, and then be like, okay, I'm ready now. Right. Like
Yes.
there are certain, and not all of them are like that because there's no one type of person. But I do think that's an important thing to recognize and hopefully an encouragement for people listening. I also think when it comes to your messaging, there is way too much emphasis being placed on challenges and the struggle. Like if you look at messages, like sometimes I'll scroll through my newsfeed, I'll be like, no, man. It's just like, who here is struggling with X, Y, and Z, or who here hates their business and wants to like whatever. I'm exaggerating a little bit,
Yes.
but that's
Mm-hmm.
going to attract the higher ticket people. Higher ticket people want to be inspired. They're inspired by possibility. They're inspired by success. And I even saw this just on a personal note in my business. It was actually right before I hit six figures. I found that I was attracting some clients who definitely did not fit that higher ticket description. In fact, some of them, to be totally transparent, were defaulting on payments. There was like a lot happening in one particular period of time. And it's hard to take ownership of that. Like, it's really hard to be like, like, how might I have attracted that? Like, I don't think that's a question
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people want to ask, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
do ask, right?
Yep.
And I realized when I went back and looked at my messaging that I was doing a really great job painting a picture of the challenges that they were facing, but not so good of a job talking about like the possibility for the future, nor was I talking about my own success. Like I had just moved into my
Mm.
dream home and that's like double the size of our previous home, more than double. Didn't even post a picture of it because I was like,
Can we talk
people,
about this?
yes, yes.
Okay, because I will say some things and I am notoriously like not sharing the
Mhm.
actual big, cool things that I'm
Mhm.
working towards and achieving in my
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
And that I don't talk about it because it feels uncomfortable and I don't want to brag and
Yeah, I don't want
blah, blah,
people to see me
blah.
as
Like,
braggy.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. That's how I
So
felt. That's how I felt. So I didn't share that. And then when I finally
this is
did,
how I know you, Michelle. I think you posted about something and you actually
was it the
posted
home?
about like
Yeah.
intentionally bragging or
Yes.
something. And
Yes.
I was like, oh man, I need more of this in my life because I'm not doing that. That is how I
Yes,
know you.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay. All
Yes.
right. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. So I finally got like it was that period of time where I'm like, Michelle, you were talking all about the struggle, but almost nothing about what people want. So of course you're attracting the people who are like, I just need money to pay next month's rent. Those aren't my people. My people love their business so much that they would do it even if they didn't get paid for it. Right. Like they have
Mm-hmm.
bigger goals. They want to make an impact. Right. They believe that success is inevitable. Like those are my people. And I wasn't talking about that. And so when I finally did start talking about that, and I remember sharing a picture of the home in my Facebook group and being honest with my audience that I was afraid to talk about it. I can't tell you how many people, it's still the number one post that I've ever shared. And I actually had a few clients come from that post. And one of them was like, you inspired the crap out of me with that. Like a higher ticket client was like, they want to be inspired. They're not threatened by success. They're inspired by it. It's just that we cater to the people who are potentially threatened by success. We cater to the people who love the struggle bus. And so I think that's a big part of why we don't share amongst other, internal
Yeah. That
battles.
is so good.
So I think you've got to balance those two, right? If you want to attract that high ticket person, like dream big with them.
Yeah, we always do the goals, the struggle, and the vision. And we like have to have a mix of those
Yeah.
three in
Yep.
order to paint the full picture. But it's that your personal stuff. I'm always like, let's talk about the clients and their hopes and their dreams, but don't like
Yeah.
show yourself as the center.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. You can't be
I
the
guess you
center.
can
I think it's painting the picture for them through your own story. So it still has to be
mm-hmm.
very much intentional. Like I also think there's a lot of oversharing about stuff
Yeah.
that doesn't matter online too. But you also like in the process of painting that picture of the vision, right? You've got to explain how you fill that gap, how you get them to that vision. And I also find that a lot of people aren't attracting high ticket clients because they're not commanding them, like they're not positioning themselves as an expert or commanding that attention. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
hey, if you want to book a call, like, let me know. Like, it's very passive, right? And I did it. I'm laughing because I've done it versus like, I can help you with this. I know how to help you with this. How many people are actually saying that statement? Like, those of you
Can we
listening, are
just
you actually?
can we reflect on like how I love talking about the energy behind our
Yeah.
voice and how we're coming
Yes.
across. And so
Yeah.
you were like, "Oh, please, like maybe I can help you or just book a
Let me
call." And
know.
it's like
Yeah.
that literally the essence of your energy
Yeah.
there versus you saying, "I
Yep.
can help you." Like that
I know
confidence
how to help
shift,
you. Yeah. Yeah.
that confidence shift is everything. And so if you're hearing that and
Mm-hmm.
like you're coming across as the former,
Yep.
like how can you shift into that and literally
Yeah.
claim it with the essence of your voice? Because people will hear that, they'll pick up on it, and that's that confidence actually translates into more sales because of how
Yeah.
you feel about yourself and
Yeah,
your
and I
business.
and I think it translates into clients who are more confident in themselves and believe in
Mm,
more capacity for success, which are the best clients because then together you're
yes.
both unstoppable. So I do think that most of it does come from the energy that we're putting out. And the good news is we have control over that. The tough part is that it's not so easy. It's not like flicking a light switch on and off.
No, I always just try to like use it all when I have it. And I'm like, ooh, I'm in this mode
Yeah.
where I can like put this all
Yeah.
out there and I like batch everything I
Yeah.
can because it's not something that consistently comes out of me
No,
ever.
no, no. But going back to what you said at the beginning, Kelsey, about trust, right? And believing that you can make money whenever you want. Imagine if that were the energy that we had bottled up every single day. Like,
Mm,
what would that look like? Right? Like, what would we say? Maybe what would we say differently? What will we do? Like, those are the questions that I think we have to ask because that is what leads to higher ticket clients.
yeah, it's interesting. I'm really navigating like the growth of my coaching business with
Yep.
team right now.
Yep.
And so a big thing is like I know I can go make the sales, I
Mm,
can make the connection, I can do the
yep.
doing, and how do I translate that same belief into my employees who are now doing this so that we can scale on this bigger level? And
Yeah.
so that
Oh,
just clicked something for
that's
me.
exactly where I'm at. I'm coaching them just as much as I'm coaching my
Oh
clients.
yeah.
To be honest with you, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't think that I would also be pursuing be stepping into the role of coach with the team, but yes, you absolutely are, because they need to have beliefs in themselves and being able to set like realistic goals too, to give people quick wins so that you can build that momentum. Like I think confidence is something that also builds each time you take action. I think a lot of people are sitting
Mm-hmm.
back kind of waiting for confidence to sort of just sprout out. And I have not found that to be the case in business. Like maybe you start with a little bit, like I remember even just starting my business, right? Like I had no idea what I was doing. There was no rule book. I just knew that I had a willingness to try, and I had like that small seed had been planted and I just couldn't get out of my mind. That's what I like leaned on while I built my confidence in taking action. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's important too.
Absolutely. You can't
Yeah.
build confidence like behind the scenes. So gotta
So many people
actually,
are trying to do that, and it's
I
holding them
know.
back. It really is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So can we talk about like the importance of building your audience and then how to build actually, how did you do this and what kind of general advice do you give to
Yeah.
people who are
Yeah.
looking to build an audience of people that will actually eventually buy from them?
Yeah. So, I mean, studies have shown that people want to buy from brands and companies and businesses that they trust, and building an audience fosters that trust. It cultivates that trust and that loyalty because they see you, right? Like they can see you showing up. And I think there's a different perspective there when they see that. I think for a lot of women, they're spending way too much time trying to get clients. Like they're spending so much time trying to do that. And in the beginning, I get it, right? In the beginning, you're like, I'll just take whatever and get the referrals and just, you are putting a lot more into that. But that can't stay, like your business can't stay in that position forever. And so I think being able to market more efficiently, like that is growing your audience. That is the efficient way to do that. Now how you do that and where you do that depends on a couple of things. Number one, where are your people? Number two, like how do you enjoy showing up? The reason my Facebook group is so successful is because I like being in there. Like I enjoy, it sounds so simple, but how many people are actually marketing in a way that they enjoy? Or are
Yes.
they like, I hate marketing and I
I
suck and everything sucks? Like, I mean, of course, if that's the energy you're bringing to the table, then it's gonna be hard to build an audience. So
totally. You have
yeah.
to focus on the one thing that feels really good and then just keep doing that.
Yeah.
And
Because
mine
again,
is
we have so many options.
yes, mine is Instagram. I'm like, I'm
Yep.
just always there. I love
Yep.
it so much. And I'm
Yep.
like, we do have a Facebook group, but it's not the same
Yeah.
energy because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't love,
Right.
love, love showing up there. It's
Right.
more for
Right.
our challenges or
Sure.
whatever that are
Sure.
going on. So,
Sure.
but yeah, I love my Instagram and I'm like, that's just really all
And
I need.
that's your audience. And I always say like having an audience is like having an insurance policy for your business, because think about it. It's like
Mm,
I'm going to use this analogy. It's like a door-to-door salesman, like going door to door to door to sell to each individual person. Imagine if the door-to-door salesman happened upon like a raving house party and all those people wanted to buy, like just probably could have hit the quota with just one house instead of spending that extra time. It's kind of the same thing online when you're building an audience of people who want to hear from you, like your people on Instagram. Think about how easy it becomes to get clients, right? Then it actually feels easy. Then I think you're like, well, I know I've got people in here who want to hear from me. So that reinforces some of the trust and the confidence that we're talking about. And I think
mm-hmm.
that again, like when you're building an audience, you're also bringing in people who align with you, who align with your values. And I think that's important too, because those are the type of people you want to work with. And so that's why I am so passionate about audiences. That's why I'm so passionate about everybody having kind of their own space. And how I've done it, I chose a Facebook group because it made sense at the time. I was running a challenge. So like I didn't even have a long-term vision. I was like, I'll close it after the challenge.
Yeah.
And then afterward, I was like, this was so much fun and I love it. Why am I going to close it? I'm going to leave it
Yeah.
open. Right. And so I left it open, and it became something that, again, I didn't even have like a solid strategy for. I literally just loved making those connections. And that was my way of doing it. And I think because I enjoyed it, because I kept it simple and I just showed up and talked about what I wanted to talk about when I wanted to talk about it, literally. Like I did lives because I wanted to do lives. I listened to people. I got on like coffee chats and different connections with people in the community to hear kind of what they were, struggling with, to hear what they wanted most. And I used that data and that information to create more content. And it snowballs, right? Like the more you put into your community, the more people are going to find when they connect with you. And people need to see and hear things at least 10 to 12 different times before they buy. Like we always underestimate it. We always think like, no, just one post. No, multiple posts. And so if you're creating an audience or a community, they're going to get those touch points like pretty quickly, right? They're going to be able to go check out a live or read a post. Like you're warming them up faster. I actually ended up cutting my entire sales process in half. It used to take me every 6 months before I get a new client. And now it's like people come through our Facebook group and within 90 days, they're going to buy. We already know because I mean, it's not like some people might take a little longer, some people shorter, but it's an average of 90 days. So not only does it warm people up and give me leads, but it helps the sales process, operate more efficiently as well because people are like, I just saw a bunch of lives that you did. There's an element of trust there that is built in your audience and in your community.
And so when you're building, now that you know that your like leads are turning into clients over 90
Yep.
days or
Yep.
even 6 months, do
Yep.
you do the same type of content over and over and over? Or do you,
We repurpose a ton. A ton. I mean, if people are hanging out in our world for a while, they'll sometimes even joke, like, I've seen this post before, but actually I've had a few clients join. I did a coaching call with the ladies in my coaching program. Like this was probably last year. And some of them were talking about how they're afraid to share content more than once because they don't want to be annoying. And I asked each of them to raise their hand to talk about how many times they had seen multiple messages, same messages about the program that they enrolled in. And some of them were like 20 or more times that they'd seen it. And they're like, I didn't get annoyed when I saw the message again. I actually like it increased my desire to want to work with you. So yeah, we repurpose content all the time. We have much more of a system and a structure now than we did in the early days, especially because I have a team and I think that forces you to get organized, right?
Yep.
But at the same time, like we also lean on the content that we've shared before because sometimes people need to, someone could see the same live or the same post and it hit them completely differently on one day just based on kind of what's going on in their business or their life. And so I also think people are creating so much work for themselves when they feel like they have to like come up with brand new content all the time. I'm not that good. I don't do that.
No, I love that. I just wanted to know if that's what you
Yeah.
were doing as
Yeah.
well. Cause it's like
Yeah.
people do want to hear the same thing over and over
Yeah.
again. And we don't need to create new things all of the time. That is nonsense. I'm all
Yep.
about like, let's
Yep.
just like use
That's a
the thing
lot of
that
work.
worked over and over again. And you're going to reach the different people with that same message.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
as you start to get to know who your audience is, and while you're cultivating them all the time, like you do get to know the themes about what you're talking about.
Yep.
And you can just keep doing that. And
Yeah.
as long as it feels good for you. And
Yep. Exactly.
that's where it is.
Exactly.
All right. So Michelle, anything else that you want to share about audience building? Anything?
I think I would also say like it's not about the numbers. Like I think people get really tied into having a certain number of followers or a certain number of people in their group. And it's easy to get wrapped up in that. That's what we're seeing online all the time. But I want to remind you guys like, even if there are, let's say, 10 people in your Facebook group, those 10 people chose to be there. Those are 10 potential clients. And I think there's something to be said for having gratitude with the people that are already connected to us and not just being focused on how do I get bigger? How do I get bigger? More, 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 more. I think that's something that I've seen a lot, like trip a lot of people up. And I think if we can come from that place of gratitude and that place of like, oh, wow, like 5 potential clients watched this video, like what an interesting reframe that is. That's going to give you the energy to continue wanting to show up. And I think it's a reminder for all of us. I need that reminder sometimes. So I wanted to share that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if you have conversations with those 5 people, I think the smaller your audience, the more intimate you can be with them.
Actually easier.
Exactly. And you can say like, what do you need? What do you want? Like, how can we work together and support you in reaching X, Y, and Z goals? And that's not something you can do when you have an audience of 10,000 or whatever. So that's awesome to know.
Yeah.
All right. So anything else you want to share before we close up here, Michelle?
I think I'm good. I hope this was helpful for people who are maybe in the process of growing a community or growing an audience. I also think like I hate to again use a cliche here, but slow and steady wins the race, right? Like it doesn't. I mean, my group is 5,700 people in there, but I've grown it over the last 3 years. So to some people that might be
Yeah.
slower growth, but slower growth is not bad. I think that's just across the board in business. Like slower growth, more intentional growth is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Like it's what's going to catapult you to the next level. And so keep going if you're someone who's maybe in that place right now where you're like, I should be further along. I expected more, you know?
Me, you're speaking to me, Michelle.
And me, Kelsey, and me, if I'm being honest.
Because I mean, I will say, like, I see people grow so quickly sometimes, and I'm like, oh, like, I'm actually celebrating year 10 in a couple weeks. So in August, and so 2 weeks.
Well, that's so exciting. What are you
and
going
I'm
to
like,
do anything big for year 10? That's a big deal.
I should. I'm hosting a retreat here in Cleveland for some of our mastermind members and a few other people. And I was like, that is my kind of like, we're going all out, and I'm very excited for it.
Okay, so there you go. That's your celebration.
Yes. And I'm going to West Palm Beach for a conference in 2 weeks too. I think that'll be my celebration.
There you go.
I celebrate all the time. I'm like, I just want to do all the fun all the time.
We do need to celebrate. We do. So many people also don't celebrate anything. And then it's like, you wonder why you're telling yourself I haven't accomplished anything. Well, because you're just focused on what you haven't done. Like, let's start celebrating the small stuff, because the small stuff is actually what gets you to the big stuff. Exactly. We think it's like a big boom. It happened overnight. It happened instantaneously. No, it's like little steps every single day, you know?
Our clients get really annoyed. They're like, and before Kelsey asks what I'm going to celebrate, I'm going to get sushi tonight because I landed this client. Like,
mine are always like, I knew you were going to ask me how I'm celebrating.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
And they're like, before you can get to it, here's how I'm celebrating now. Like, they just know.
Yeah, good. We need more of that.
Awesome. So Michelle, I know that you have a fun freebie, and I think it's a freebie, right? Yes. Okay. So where can people find that, and where can they also find you on the internet and get in touch with you if they would like to?
Yeah, of course. So if you are growing an audience, if you are growing a community, I want to help you get 100 dream clients into that community, whether it's your first or your next, because there's always opportunity to get even better with the people you're attracting. So I have a free guide called Your First 100. It also, it references a lot of things related to my Facebook group, but it can be used if you're building a community outside of Facebook as well. And then it also, when you download it, it also comes with 7 daily tips for boosting engagement. Like, how do you actually boost engagement in your community? What does that look like? How do you start getting some of that traction and getting those conversations going? So check that out if you're interested in that. And then you can find me inside of my Facebook group, Market Like a Boss. And then I also have a podcast by the same name, Market Like a Boss.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us and share all of your knowledge. This was awesome.
Thank you, Kelsey. It was great. I enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you've enjoyed the show, please take a few seconds right now to leave a rating and review on iTunes. It's so simple and helps us so much. This is incredibly helpful for getting this show into more ears so that we can make even more impact. I'm sending you so much love. I hope you have an amazing week. You've got this.